This little segment's just another flea market haul. I stopped at a Walgreens, picked up some of these Topps Chrome 2-pack of the Nippon baseball. So I'm gonna rip those in a minute. I went to the flea market this morning. I had some fun. Grabbed some cards from a table, and I grabbed a bunch of packs while I was there because they had them for pretty cheap. What I picked up, grabbed the Mike Trout. You know, I collect the 89s. These are 88, so I thought that was kind of cool. So I grabbed that. A couple Bo Jacksons. I actually found the Roki Sasaki in their bin as well. It's not the greatest edge up here, but he just signed with the Dodgers, so that was a cool find. A Jalen Rose rookie, I didn't have that one, so grab that. Lamar, you know, as a Ravens guy, I grabbed those, and a Troy Aikman Topps rookie card. So grabbed a couple things, you know, less than $1 a piece for the cards. It's fun to dig through little boxes and see what you find. They had a bunch of junk wax era packs, and I'm a sucker for a good rip. Inexpensive as I can bake it. I got some football packs, I got 1990 Fleer, and I got a 1995 Collector's Choice, which are actually kind of cool. So they have some pretty cool inserts in here. There are some Platinum Players Club. It looks like they're probably like a box hit if I would hit one. Some Crash the Games are 1 in 5 packs. So there's some cool inserts. Looking for those guys that played in the 90s, and some 90 Fleer Premium Edition. They also had a couple of these fat packs of the Score Major League Baseball from 92. Possible Joe DiMaggio autos in those. I think there's 2,500 throughout all the different packs that they had. And my Walgreens haul, the Nippon baseball. So let's make a little stack. I'm going to hit those guys last. All right, I'm going to go numeric, I guess. I'm going to go 1990 football first. Looking for any of the old, old Hall of Famers. Not a whole lot of value, but there are a couple cool cards in these. I just like the rip though, right? Inexpensive. Getting some junk wax off the streets. 1990 Fleer football. They did have some cool rookies during this time frame. We'll see what I get. Some rookies, some stars. Old school rip today. Don't expect much value, it's just more for fun. Nothing like the feel of some old wax. Clyde Simmons, Chris Moore, John Williams, 1990 All-Star All-Pro. So my All-Pro is Keith Millard in this pack. And there we go. Barry Sanders, so another one that I wanted to hit. Awesome. Brad Muster, Jim Dabrowski, Don Mikowski, Mike Kim, Seth Joyner, Chris Dolman, Mark Duper, Bob Golick, Eric Howard, Bobby Brister. So, cool. I'll take that. Worth what I paid for the pack. They're extremely cheap. It was like seven packs for $5 or something. Took the chance, cleared out all the football that he had left. Lee Johnson, Steve Atwater, Martin Bailiff, Jack Trudeau, Gary Hochboom, Roland James, Bob Gagliano, Bill Bates, Eric McMillan, Travis McNeil, Tony Casellas, Gary Zimmerman, Doug Reisenberg, Derek Hill, and Andre Ware, NFL Draft Choice. So the Fleer All-Pros are just randomly inserted in pack. Alright, we got Derek Thomas, John Taylor, Johnny Meade, Wilbur Marshall, David Fulcher, David Treadwell, Burt Grossman, Donnell Thompson, Jeff George, number 1 NFL draft pick, Stanley Morgan, Mike Singletary, Troy Aikman, another one that I wanted to hit, Don Warren, Lee Williams, and Anthony Toney. So, I mean, any Hall of Famers, any cool players from back in the day, it's kind of fun to hit. Leonard Griffin, cool. Joe Montana, Mike Rozier, Charles Mann, Lewis Billups, Orson Mobley, Arthur Cox, Harvey Armstrong, Blair Thomas, John Stevens, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Super Bowl MVPs, Ray Horton, Tim Harris, and a checklist. My last of these 1990 Fleers. Overall, take the couple hits that I got. Lewis Billups, Orson Mobley, Arthur Cox, it's like the same exact pack. Harvey Armstrong, Blair Thomas, John Stevens, Jerry Rice, and Joe Montana again. Ray Horton, Tim Harris, the checklist, Terry Hoge, Sammy Smith, Lionel Washington, Gary Anderson, and Brian Wagner. So, got some doubles in my couple packs. Alright, so now on to the Collector's Choice 1995 football. These are retail packs. There is some pretty cool things in here. Crash the Game cards in 1 in 4 packs. Players Clubs in 1-to-1. Platinum player cards. Look like they're a box hit. 1 in 35 pack. Maybe every 2 boxes or something. Crash the Game 1 in 5. So, lots of inserts. Should be fun. Too bad it's not 96 when the Ravens came out, but something fun to rip. And there's a Players Club right on the top. Michael Barrow. Got Ray Zellers in the rookie class. Joe Montana. Checklist. Tim McKyer. Craig Erickson. Shane Drummond, Edgar Bennett, Steve Walsh, Dale Carter, Eugene Robinson, Rod Woodson, and Mike Sherrard. Sean Gilbert in the Players Club, Tony Baselli, Mel Gray, Jeff Logman, Chris Warren, Randall Cunningham, Eric Metcalf, Matt Darby, Tom Carter, Derek Fenner, LaShawn Johnson, and Darnay Scott. Michael Timpson, Tyrone Wheatley, Marshall Faulk, cool. Dwayne Washington, John Elway, Johnny Johnson, David Klinger, Larry Centers, Mario Bates, John Randall, Eric Curry, and Vincent Brisby. Chester McLaughlin, Steve Stenstrom, awesome. There we go. Neon Deion Sanders and the Did You Know, Mark Carrier, Wayne Gandy, Sean Jones, Chris Calloway, Leroy Thompson, Lewis Oliver, Jeff Graham, we got Junior Seau, and Kevin Green. Awesome, and that's what I'm talking about. That's cool. There we go. I got John Elway in the Platinum, it looks like, Player's Choice. So, 1 in 36 hit on the John Elway. I'll take it. Mark Fields. Oh, cool. And a Joe Montana Trilogy card. That's pretty cool. Bernard Williams. Lorenzo White. Terry Kirby. Steve Young, Crash the Game Silver. This is a cool pack. I haven't hit anything like that yet. Natro Mean. Terrell Buckley. William Fuller. Johnny Morton. And Sean Dalkin. Alright, I'll take that. That was a win. Brian Cox. Rod Johnson. Aeneas Williams. Kelvin Martin. Chris Calloway. Chris Zorch. Lorenzo White. Kirk Loudermilk. Willie McGinnis. Antonio Langham. Greg Hill. And Henry Ellard. The last pack of these. Terrell Buckley. Cool. Warren Sapp. Rookie class. Dan Marino on the Did You Know. Russell Maryland. David Klinger. Jim Kelly. Wayne Gandy. John Williams. Leslie O'Neal. Alright, Emmett Smith. David Palmer. And Jerry Rice. To end it off. Cool. This was a fun little football rip. That was a lot of fun. So I'm going to throw some score in here real quick from a different video, and then come back for the baseball. Today, it's going to be a quick little football session. I got 3 of these 22 card packs of Score 2024. So I figure I'm going to rip real quick. See what happens. A new set. Pick up a couple footballs every year, but not too much. We got Nick Chubb. Cool. Zay Flowers. So, of course, Baltimore guy. Looking for my Ravens. Charles Haley. Bryce Young. Dan Marino. Khalil Mack. Devontae Adams. Forrest Buckner. Jason Myers. Ricky Jackson. Devontae Smith. Warren Moon. So now we're to the rookies. We got Peyton Wilson. Xavier Legette. Anias Smith. Spencer Rattler. Drake May. Chris Jenkins. Max Crosby. The Raiders not doing so good this year, but he's pretty fun to watch. Watched one of their games not too long ago. First ballot, Marcus Allen, Pro Football Hall of Fame. Patrick Mahomes, Celebration. Potential, Brian Thomas Jr. And Kid Reporter. Alright, second pack. Let's see. You know, I want to hit some more of my Ravens. And hopefully hit something cool. Some of the rookies, some of the other rookies. So we got Rashawn Johnson, Jalen Thompson, Deshaun Watson, Mark Andrews. Alright, there we go. 2 Ravens. Randy Moss, Isaiah Pacheco, Donald Driver. We got Eli Manning, Doug Williams, Will Levis, Noah Fant. We've got a green Malik Neighbors. Alright. Cool. The Ravens just played New York this past. Amarius Nims, Eric All, Jeremiah Trotter. And that's the other one I wanted to hit. So Jaden Daniels. Granted, I know, base cards, but still. Roman Wilson, Jaheim Bell, the potential Terrion Arnold, Celebration Tua, Michael Phoenix Jr., another potential of Layada Latu. Alright, so a few potentials, a couple other cool cards. I'll take it. I don't buy a whole lot of footballs, but gonna have some fun with it this year. Grab a couple packs here and there. Right, I want a Lamar. Alright, Zach Martin, Micah Hyde, John Elway, Cole Met, Wes Welker, Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne Jr., Andre Johnson, Breece Hall, Danico Autry, Alex Highsmith, Phil Simms, Ladd McConkey, Jalen Harrell, Troy Franklin, Dylan Johnson, Brock Bowers, Josh Allen in the green, Jonathan Brooks in the potential, Max Crosby again, this time in the celebration, Xavier Worthy, Geno Smith, and that's it. Alright, I'm going to rip these 2 as well. Throw these in with the other 3. The other 3, not so many hits. Cool cards, but I haven't really collected much of the Score football. I'm more of a baseball guy, but I do like to pick up some. First up, Travis Kelce, Jaden Reed, Tyreek Hill, Justin Herbert, Navarre Bowman, Chris Boswell, Dexter Lawrence, Terry McLaurin, Jair Alexander, T. Higgins, Younghoe Koo, Dak Prescott, got a Mike Allstott, Bo Nix, Mike Gesicki in the red as well, Max Crosby in the sack attack. And I feel like I just hit that one. And I'm pretty sure I just hit this Marcus Allen too. Same exact cards. And the Patrick Mahomes celebration. Was it the same pack? Like what? Certain cards in order every time. Marvin Mims. Alright, potential Jaden Daniels. I'll take that one. Myles Garrett, sack attack. Terry and Arnold in the potential. Celebration of Tua. Michael Penix Jr. So we got Gabe Hall, Adonai Mitchell, TJ Tampa, Javon Bullard, Charlize Fuaga, and Malik Washington. One more pack, let's go! Can't get doubles again, right? All the same. I spoke too soon. Maybe. We'll see, because this was right on the top of one of my other packs, too. Zay Flowers, Charles Haley, Bryce Young, Jared Goff, Zach Moss, Chris Olave, Aaron Donald, Josh Allen, Clinton Portis, Tyjae Spears, Jason Myers, Ricky Jackson. Got Javonte Williams, Devontae Adams, Javon Bullard, Nick Bossa. Alright, Jerome Bettis, Bus in the ballot, Dak Prescott in the celebration, Raheem Mostert in the league leaders, Marvin Harrison Jr. in the potential, Travis Kelce in the celebration, Jaden Daniels. Alright, I'll take that one. Cool. Myles Garrett celebration, Mike Evans in the league leaders, and then here's some of the rookies again: Malik Washington, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jatavian Sanders, Rome Duns, Cedric Gray, Brandon Fisk, and a kid reporter. So overall, not really a fan of the score. I'm sad that I got doubles in so these were fat packs. They weren't even the same kind of product. The other packs were 22 cards per pack. These were the 30 cards per pack and got almost identical inserts. So whatever. You win some in the packs, you don't win some in the packs. It's alright. I still got some cards, still got some players that I dig. So I still got some for the PC. One always hit my Ravens. I only hit a couple doubles of Zay, but a couple of the Jaden Daniels I've been watching. A little bit of the Commanders as well this year. And some of these other guys, we'll have to wait to see how they produce. Thanks for checking this out. Back to me a minute ago. Alright, let's do these baseball. So first, two of these 1992 40 card packs. Alright, Chunk Wax Baseball. Not a whole lot worth a whole lot, but we'll see. So there is a chance for autographs in here for Joe DiMaggio autos, but it's only like 2,500 in all of the scorecards. And in 1992, there was probably a million upon a million packs of these. Overprinted galore. Alright. Let's see. Kevin Gross, Albert Bell, Chris Bosio, Dave Winfield, Cal Daniels, Vincent Palacios, Julio Franco, Hubby Brooks, Pat Combs, Bip Roberts, Harold Baines, Mickey Moranity, Jeff Brantley, Gerald Alexander, Wally Backman, Donnie Hill, Eric Yielding, 90s Impact player, Charles Nagai, Wes Chamberlain, Juan Guzman, Frank Thomas, I'm up in my hit area, Arthur Lee Rhodes, and the dream team of Ricky Henderson. Nice. Rest in peace. I watched a lot of the A's in the late 80s, early 90s because of Jose Canseco, and he would, they were teammates. He was fun to watch. Mark Eichhorn, Dave Gallagher, Steve Avery, Tim Naring, Paul Gibson, Lance Blankenship, Russ Swan, Wally Whitehurst, Doug Henry, Brett Barbary, Bernie Williams, Frank Castillo, Bobby Witt Sr., Eric Plunk, Bo Jackson, Joe Hesketh, and Todd Burns. Not a bad pack. Let's go. Second one. David Wells, Tom Bernowski, Ozzie Goyen, Mike Moore, Joe Carter, Hensley Mullins, Pascal Perez, Dwayne Ward, Mike Gallego, Kevin Reimer, Kevin McReynolds, Jim Gott, Jerry Willard, Greg Jeffries, Bob Melvin, Chris Donald, Scott Garrett, and on the impacts we got Derek Bell, Mark White, Orlando Merced, Ken Griffey Jr. So I got one cool one of those in both packs. Anthony Young, Mike Bell, Mike Felder, Greg Maddox, Frank Tanana, Mark Davidson, Lenny Harris, Joe Slasarski, Jeff Reed, that's a picture, Juan Agosto, Tim Sherrill, Andy Ashby, Wes Chamberlain, Pedro Guerrero, Jim DeShays, Mitch Williams, Mike Heath, Tommy Green, and Tom Henke in the art. So, a couple cool cards. Would have paid for the packs, right? Here's another little baseball rip that I did the other day. It just didn't really make sense to make its own video, so let's see what we got in these packs. I love going to the flea market and finding those old junk packs for $1 a pack, or this guy had 6 for $5, and if I didn't pay attention, I should have looked a little closer. The two 2010s, I didn't realize the cards were upside down, and that meant they were already ripped. I'll still open them anyway. I didn't notice that. That sucks. The rest seemed sealed. After I noticed that, I did double check them, but they could have just resealed them. Who knows? So let's see what we find, if anything. Packs were meant to be ripped, so it's all about that. I like it. Alright, we get a puzzle piece of Stan Musial. There he is. Beautiful cards, at least. Really nice. Pack fresh. Mark Grace, Jerry Mumphrey, Paul Kilgus, John Farrell, Steve Lake, Jeff Russell, Joey Meyer, Rafael Palmeiro, Bob Brower, so he would have been second year that year, Jose Lind, Todd Worrell, Jerry Brown, Nelson Liriano, and Keith Moreland. I've been grabbing some Palmeiros. My nephew told me it was his favorite baseball player when he was a little kid, watching the O's with us, and I've been grabbing those for him, even though he's a cheap buy. Alright, so we got same thing, except these are going to be the Leaf version. Get the puzzle piece, see what happens. Old wax packs. Fun rip. Let's hope for maybe a couple stars. There's some cool players back then, right? Different puzzle piece, cool. Alright, and these are the Leaf versions, so a little different. Fernando Valenzuela, Lee Manzilli, Jose Uribe, Tim Raines, the checklist, alright. Gary Gady, Carney Lansford, Lloyd Mosby, Dave Stibe, and Vince Coleman. I'm gonna keep rolling through them. I feel like there's probably like 700 cards in these sets, so pulling a star wasn't always easy back in the day. Devin White, Floyd Humans, Darrell Evans, Ted Simmons, Jim Gantner, Gary Carter, Dwight Evans and the Diamond King, Tony Pena, Nelson Liriano, and Jack Morris. So now I'm up to Series 291. I don't know. I know 91 had the start of like the insert, right, with the Elite Series for Donruss. I don't know if they're in these packs or not. I don't know if they're the 91 Series 2 or if it's Series 1, but you never know. Puzzle piece again. We got Rob Deere, Randy Tomlin, Kevin Mitchell, Scott Erickson, Julio Machado, Will Clark, Mo Vaughn, Len Dykstra, Paul Sorrento, Kevin Napier, Howard Farmer, Gary Ward, Jose Vizcaino, Dave Stibe, and Chris Sabo as the MVP. So again, no hits if you want to call it that in these packs, but still fun to rip. Like I said, cheap rip, always worth a gamble. You never know. Alright, so these are Fleer Ultra, 1993. Alright, we got Dan Waters, rookie, and they are starting to brick. It's fun to open these cards. Here, come on. Getting them to separate without damage, hopefully. Terry Mulholland, checklist. Alright, I'm hitting a bunch of the checklists. Get those out of the way. Bob Welch, Steve Sachs, Bernie Williams, Louis Paulina. Alright, that's cool. Terry Pendleton, Kevin McReynolds, Todd Zeal, Rick Aguilera, Moses Alou, and Kevin Brown is my last card in that pack. Alright, already opened, unfortunately. 7 cards are supposed to be in here, and a stick of gum. There's neither the stick of gum, and it might not be 7 cards. I don't know. Let's see. We got Jim Thome left in there, Kevin Gray, Andrew McCutcheon, RBI leaders, Drupal Cabrera, Matt Kemp, and Ian Stewart. At least they put all 7 cards back in there, even if they weren't the right ones. Who knows? That's fine. Alright, Ted Lilly, Drew Stubbs, Cesar Ramos, Pedro Feliz, Scott Hairston, Kelly Shabik, and Craig Counsell. Nothing great in all of it, but was it fun to rip it and do it anyway? Of course it was, because it's all about the hunt. So now on to the last thing that I picked up. These 2 factory sealed packs. So I'm getting some 2021 Nippon baseball. And let's rip it and find out. Again, I just grabbed the ones with the chrome on the top. I grabbed one without the chrome. I was curious what this other pack was. I couldn't tell what it was. So 2022 Topps UK. It's interesting. Topps Gallery 2022. Never ripped one of those before. I think I got 2 of those. One regular, the Nippon, 2 of the Topps Gallery, chromes. Alright, let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to count down. So 23, 22, 22s, and then the 21s. Let's see what happens, alright? I'm excited. Always just fun to have something to rip. Tried to go inexpensive today. Interestingly, this pack is taped to itself. I already have the complete set of this, but we'll see if there's anything cool in here. We got the Giants, the NL home run leaders, the Wild West, NL ERA leaders, Caleb Smith. My stars of the MLB is Bo Bichette. We got Emmanuel Class, Julio Urias, Marco Gonzalez, Keston Herrera, Mark Apple, Max Stassi, Daniel Vogelbach, David Villar, Liam Hendricks, and A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez in the 40-40 club. Alright, so I've never ripped this one before. This is interesting. 2022 UK edition baseball. All right, we got MJ Melendez, Jose Altuve, Mike Yastrzemski, Chris Bryant, Joan Duran, Nestor Cortez, Kenley Jansen, Cedric Mullins, George Kirby, and Josh Winder. And that's numbered to 125. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. That's all right. That's cool. Interesting pack. I never opened any of the UK ones. Never opened these either. Topps Gallery 2022. 4 cards in here. Looks like it's full of parallels. Like everything, everything Topps full of parallel. Give it a shot. Got a couple of these to rip. Joe Ryan, Starling Marte, Bob Gibson. That's cool. Printer proof. Freddie Freeman and Robin Yount. All right, we got Tyler McGill, Tria Turner, Justin Verlander in the printer proof. Guess that's in the middle of each one. Jordan Alvarez and Brandon Marsh. Not my favorite of all the packs that I've opened. We'll see. All right, up next, some 2021 Nippon Baseball. I apologize ahead of time if I mispronounce the name. I will try my best. Hayate Nakagawa, Sasuke Genda, Carter Stewart Jr., Kendall Gen, Takayuki Kishi, Yuma Imagawa, Shogo Nakamura. Oh, that one's pretty cool. Kazuma Okamoto, Ryuta Hainai, Masayuki Kuwahara, Yasunori Okagawa, Koyo Aogi, Yoda Kayota, and Tsubasa Aizawa. So there's a couple of these guys that made it over to the MLB on the American side, and some of their cards are hits. The chrome is kind of cool. I always like the chrome. And I did get a couple of these packs previously. Shota Fukushima, Kazuki Tanaka, Shunpei Yamashita, and I got a blue Takahiro Noromoto. That's out of 150. 2 more packs of these. Fun little rip though, you know? Inexpensive. There hasn't been any new releases that I've wanted to open recently, so figured I'd take some chances on these. Shunpei Yamashita, Tsubasa Aizawa, Takuya Kai, and Koyo Aogi in the Prismic Power. That one's kind of cool. Last one of these. We'll see if anything cool comes out of it. Seiji Kobayashi, Yuhei Nakamura, Shunta Tadaka, and Senichi Onuki, and it's a refractor. Cool. Overall, 1 hit in each one of those packs. There was a chance that you could hit somebody pretty rad. I didn't hit any of the ones that made it to the MLB, but it's cool. Still a really fun rip. I had a blast on this, even though the hits were a little sparse on these double packs, but I'll take some of my other random hits that I got in the football and the baseball, the old stuff. So it was a fun rip overall. If you want to see more of my collecting journey, check out my channel if you haven't already. Give me that like, give me that subscribe. Let me know what your favorite hits are from one of those flea market packs. Have you gotten one? You know, $1 pack out and you just hit something really rad. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for checking this out. I'm Nate. This was It's All About the Hunts, and I'll catch you on the next hunt.